Okay, I'm going to discuss the actual meaning of what Jesus' birth stands for. Now, I'm not a person that is totally frightened of people that put up Christmas trees and discuss nativity stories around December 25th. There's some people that absolutely think you're totally against God's word when you discuss nativity themes around December 25th. Okay. I'm not a person that's completely on that fence because I believe you can talk about nativity things year round. And I believe you should be talking about the nativity story year round if at all possible. Because there's a lot of different elements inside the nativity story or the Noel story, whatever, from the point where Elizabeth um, learns that she's expecting all the way till, let's just say, Jesus goes to the temple at age when he's a teenager. Um, I believe you can talk about those things any time of the year because there's so many different things like what type of stable was Jesus actually in, where was he born, what were the shepherds actually like, what were they doing, what types, the different elements listed. Anyway, I'm going to discuss the facts of why this birth and this situation was so significant on the human world. And I'm not going to point out the glorification of Jewish people or tribal realms, tribal conditions that we all have. I'm going to point out the facts of life, okay? And Satan doesn't want to preserve humanity. That should be very clear. If anyone doesn't understand that, they really don't understand the significance of the nativity story. He absolutely hates humanity. Hatred is in his heart. He wants humanity to have hatred in the heart, okay? Um, if anybody has worked in healthcare before, they know that there's some people on the playing field that are residents or patients or something like that that have some unusual comments that come out of their mouth. I myself could have been guilty of something like this at some point in my life. So I am so thankful for God's mercy despite my errors and judgments of others and situations and things like that. Institutional violence exists for a reason because the human heart is internally deceptive. Okay, and yeah, if you've ever worked with dementia patients, you'll know what I'm talking about, and other situations, taking care of people with this and that. Okay, prodigal sons to show up at the ER, quote unquote. Okay, so there's an evil around that Satan doesn't want us to discuss. He doesn't want us to discuss about Elizabeth being the first one to be the one expecting, and there's multiple things going on for Elizabeth. Number one, she's of the minority group, the Jewish people. Um, Number two, she's older. Number three, they're a commandments focused couple. Okay. So those three things right there, Satan doesn't like that. He don't like those three things right there. The seed of David theme and Elizabeth being related to Mary. Something is not good for Satan's plan on humanity. Okay? This is what opens up the nativity story. Elizabeth, right away, head to head fighting. All right. So there's an evil around. Okay. And when you're dealing with the process of bringing life to this earth, if you know someone who worked in the ER or you've worked in the ER, whatever, you know there's evils that there's a spirit around in certain situations. Okay. Um, all the Roe versus Wade commentary is actually Doe versus traffic. Doe in the walking across the road versus traffic. It's not actually Roe versus Wade. No, there's an evil around, and the enemy wants women to abide by evil forces, to abide by the traffic, so to speak. So, there is an evil around. If you've ever been mocked or scorned or anything. Okay, you get the point. Elizabeth and Zacharias were commandments couple. That means they don't believe in mocking and scorning the commandments or any of that. Okay. They're a person that believes in Psalm 119. Read that. Okay. All right. There's a fact that Satan wants you to use your time on the earth for anything but God and things of God's will and related entities. So he doesn't want you studying God's word. He doesn't want you doing God's word. He doesn't want you acknowledging that the Sermon on the Mount actually fixes problems and creates a better kingdom for his glory, not for our own, it's for him. Satan does not want us to do that. Satan is a him, okay? God is he, okay? Satan doesn't want us to do those things. And there's other, Bible passages on that. Anyway, when you see and hear of celebrities, it can be news media celebrities or anything. Hoda Khattab, I've seen some things, and even what else? Who else is there? CNN people or anybody. These people are celebrities and media ones and non-media celebrities. They're a way to channel information, basically. Okay. And views about things on this earth, this temporary earth. They may or may not be contributing to the elements of evil forces among us. I don't know this every situation, but you don't have to pay attention to every single one, but you have to be aware that there's the force of darkness that wants to overcome humanity and its real needs. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So let's just say, John Legend wants to talk about something, and he's like, when I was a kid, somebody was going to chase me down with a baseball bat, and I don't like it. And then they kept tracking me down, and they were spying on me. He's talking about his own forces of darkness he had to deal with. So there you go. There's a force of darkness around. Okay. No matter who the celebrity happens to be. Okay. All right. Is there human too? All right. If you want to know what forces the enemy wants to contribute to, he doesn't want the Nativity story to exist. Like I said, it starts out in the beginning with Elizabeth and Zacharias. They were commandments keepers. Okay? Satan doesn't want Mary to be the mother of Jesus because later on in the storyline of the Bible it says that Jesus attended the wedding at Cana, and who else was a guest? Mary. Okay? What does that tell you? There's a cultural theme to Jesus. He lived in Israel. So many forces of evil and darkness are against Israel today. If you're not aware of that, you are not in the Bible correctly. You're not reading it correctly. Ask God to help you do that. Look for resources that teach you about what is really going on in Israel and how the people are coming and going. Okay. Satan doesn't want the people of Israel to live without sin. He doesn't want them to acknowledge the King of Kings. He doesn't want them to acknowledge the first 5 books of the Bible. Satan doesn't want them to acknowledge general truth. Okay? All right. So that being said, if you read Bible passages, there are many, 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 many Bible passages that mention wicked, the word wicked or wickedness, things like that. So if you're going to take a Bible verse, you can read it in context of what the Bible is actually saying. All right, let's try this one. Psalm 7:9. Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just. For the righteous God trieth the hearts and reins. So instead of putting in the word wicked, put in, oh, let the forgetters of the Nativity story, of the forgetters of the Nativity story, quote unquote, come to an end. But establish the just, for the righteous God trieth the hearts and reins. Okay? So you're putting something else from a different Bible passage in for the word wicked. The forgetters of the Nativity story are wicked. Okay? Try Psalm 7:11. God judges the righteous, and God is angry with the forgetters of the Bible story every day. Think about that. Okay. That's how the gospel opens up. It opens up with the nativity story. Okay. Another one. Psalm 9:5. Thou hast rebuked the heathen. Thou hast destroyed the forgetters of the nativity story. Thou hast put out their name forever and ever. So even in the nativity story, King Herod was the bad guy. Jesus had to go to Egypt for a while with his parents. Okay? God knew it. He saw all these wicked people. Okay? Let's try another one. Psalm 9:16. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked people who wanted to destroy Jesus in the nativity story is snared in the work of his own hands. Hagayon Selah. So, all right. So you get what I'm saying? It's saying that there's wickedness around. And there's other elements of wicked. Even the general secular world knows about it. The general Hollywood knows. The general celebrity world knows about it. What are we battling? Okay. Proverbs 11:7. Let's go into the Proverbs now. When a forgetter of the nativity story man dieth, his expectation shall perish, and the hope of unjust men perish. So he's gone. Okay, so there's no hope, basically. Proverbs 11:8. The righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the forgetter of the nativity story cometh in. Instead, Proverbs 11:10. When it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth. And when the forgetter of the nativity story perish, there is shouting. Okay? Proverbs 11:11. By the blessing of the upright the city is exalted, but is overthrown by the mouth of the forgetter of the nativity story. All right. So, all right. So, if you look up history of any event, slavery, they were forgetters of the nativity story. They didn't treat women right. Okay, they just didn't. Didn't matter the age and stage of the woman. Okay, in communist environments, they don't treat women right. And every time that a tribal minority group went through suffering, they don't treat the women right. You'll find it all the time. The women were mistreated, and I'm telling you, when the nativity story starts out, it starts out with a woman. Okay, so I hope that helps you understand why the nativity story what it actually entails. It's not all about December 25th and just blowing horns. No, it's about overcoming wickedness. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, and overcoming Satan. Okay. I hope that helps you understand why it's more than just um, show and tell child games. There's more to it than that. Okay, bye.